Dinosaurs. We are taught about dinosaurs almost immediately when we are young children. It is stressed over and over again that dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. Children are flooded with images of dinosaurs in all forms of media, and especially in cartoons and children's shows. People who consider themselves intelligent and enlightened point out dinosaurs to disprove the Bible. They claim that it proves the Bible is false. How accurate is this statement? How about we look at some dinosaur finds which turn the evolutionary timeline on their head and are literally impossible finds? I will link all articles presented in this video in the information section. This Tyrannosaurus rex, found in 2006 and was largely ignored by our media, was labeled dangerous by Discover magazine as soon as it was found by the scientific community. How can a scientific discovery be dangerous? Because it was an impossible find if dinosaurs lived millions of years ago. In the New York Times article, and this is a direct quote, a 70-million-year-old Tyrannosaurus rex recently discovered in Montana, scientists reported today, has apparently yielded the improbable: soft tissues including blood vessels and possibly cells that retain some of their original flexibility, elasticity, and resilience. How the hell can a 70-million-year-old creature have blood vessels intact? It can't. The article goes on to say, tissue preservation to this extent has not been noted before in dinosaurs, the team leader Dr. Mary H. Schweitzer of North Carolina State University said in a teleconference on Tuesday. What does this tell you? This is not the first time dinosaur tissue has been found intact. Think about that for a second. Think long and hard about how a creature 70 million years old can have tissue intact. The New York Times article continues. Excavations of dinosaur remains sometimes turn up preserved tissues other than bone, such as feathers, embryonic fragments, and internal organs. But as Dr. Schweitzer's group noted, in those cases their shapes may be replicated, but their original composition is not preserved as still soft, pliable tissues. They go on to infer that this animal may be able to be cloned, and they stress over and over again that this is a creature from 70 million years ago. As I stated in part 1 of this video, even thinking about intelligent design can get these PhDs fired, make them lose tenure, and get their grants cut off. How about we look at what some scientists have said about this find? Dr. David Menton, who holds a PhD in cell biology from Brown University, wrote at the time that it certainly taxes one's imagination to believe that soft tissue and cells could remain so relatively fresh in appearance for the tens of millions of years of supposed evolutionary theory. National Geographic, regarding these findings and reporting on Dr. Schweitzer's comments at the AAAS meeting, reported how scientists are trying to make sense of the surprising discovery, and that scientists are beginning to rethink a long-standing model of how the fossilization process works. Traditional ideas of how fossils form do not allow for the preservation of soft, perishable organic tissues. Schweitzer also said at the AAAS conference that we propose now that soft tissue components of bone might persist in a lot more different animals and in a lot more ages and environments than we once thought. The preservation of this dinosaur is impossible. So instead of challenging evolution, Schweitzer is looking for another way out. Guess what? She isn't going to find one. Dr. Menton, the PhD from Brown University, made the following observations. The T-Rex was deposited in sandstone of estuarine origin, meaning that the animal was buried in rock layers laid down by water. Funny that it would be water. Since the bone looked relatively unfossilized, Researchers, using weak acid, dissolved the mineral from a piece of the dinosaur bone, much the same way as the common science class exercise where chicken leg bones are soaked in vinegar for a week to make them rubbery. In fresh bones, the acid removes the hard mineral, leaving only organic material such as fibrous connective tissue, blood vessels, and various cells. By comparison, if one were to demineralize a typical permineralized fossil, there would be nothing left. The acid treated the T-Rex bone fragment, however, produced a flexible and elastic structure, similar to what you would get from a fresh bone. When the demineralized T-Rex bone was examined under the microscope, it revealed small, branching, translucent blood vessels with what appeared to be red blood cells inside. Schweitzer reports in National Geographic said that she will be continuing to study possible ways to explain this phenomenon, which was previously thought to be impossible. And rightly so, I may add, because it is impossible, to illustrate the challenge being faced. Although she claims to be on one possible track. She showed 2 photographs and stated one of these cells is 65 million years old and one is about 9 months old. Can anyone tell me which is which? Her inferred answer was no. So even when presented with visual proof of a huge catastrophe involving water and fleshy tissue and blood vessels intact, these scientists refuse to change the timeline and instead are looking for ways, which they will never find, that a 70 million year old fossil can be preserved like this. This sounds perfectly logical and highly intelligent to me. How about you? How about the fact that dinosaurs are not carbon dated? When they have been carbon dated, they are nowhere near the upper limits that carbon dating has claimed to be accurate. These results are instead thrown out, and dinosaur remains are instead dated according to soil, which is dated with an imaginary evolutionary timeline as its basis. Nice circular research they have invented for themselves. Let me present another logic problem to you. How logical is it to believe that God, who could create all these systems within systems, would not be powerful enough to preserve everything that was important in his book? What is the largest dinosaur remain ever found? It is the Brontosaurus, a sauropod. What did it look like? A very large brontosaurus. You are told that dinosaurs aren't in the Bible. This is a lie. In fact, until the Age of Enlightenment hit in the 1700s, there was no such thing as dinosaurs. They were called dragons. They were called dragons all the way up to the mid-1800s, and they were listed as rare in dictionaries all the way up until the 1900s. Marco Polo recorded that the royal house in China kept dragons for ceremonies, and dragons were hunted for meat and medicine in the province of Chorazin. Records of the Greek historian Herodotus and the Jewish historian Josephus describe flying reptiles in ancient Egypt and Arabia. In other cultures, it was a great honor to kill these creatures. There are numerous records of warriors killing great beasts in order to establish credibility in a village. Gilgamesh, Fafnir, Beowulf, and other famous legends, including the mythology of Egypt, Greece, and Rome, include specific descriptions of dragons and other dinosaur-like creatures. We also have artifacts like this. The articles will present the idea that these sculptures are a hoax, even though they have no physical evidence that it was a hoax, and they will then tell you that it doesn't really look like a Stegosaurus at all. Why a Stegosaurus? Why not a T-Rex? Because it looks like a Stegosaurus, that's why. I love how they also put stupid in the title. You know what I think is stupid? People who discredit these things just because they are told that they are stupid, if they actually think they may have some validity to them. We also have other artifacts where the animals pictured look very much like dinosaurs. Now, is it impossible to believe that dinosaurs never existed with man? Many, if not all, were surely killed in a global disaster involving water. Just like the biblical flood, which is a catastrophe story found in all cultures worldwide. Gilgamesh is a good example of this. It is interesting to note, though, that these people remember what these creatures look like, which puts a huge dent in the evolutionary timeline. Now ask yourself, why is the largest animal to ever exist on this earth in the Bible book of Job? The Brouhathkaisaurus, which was bigger than even a blue whale. How about we read this scripture and you tell me what God is describing here? Look at the behemoth, which I made along with you, and which feeds on grass like an ox. What strength he has in his loins, what power in the muscles of his belly. His tail sways like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are close knit. His bones are tubes of bronze, his limbs like rods of iron. He ranks first among the works of God, yet his maker can approach him with his sword. The hills bring him their produce, and the wild animals play nearby. This is an exact description of the Brouhathkaisaurus, a tail the size of a cedar tree, a deep, strong belly. Why would all the wild animals be playing nearby? Think about what you know as wild animals. Lions, tigers. This animal was gigantic. It was the largest creature that God ever made, and he was very proud of it. What have we done? Stolen glory from God. We have come up with the idea that all these wonderful creatures, including us, are mistakes. How about aliens? You will be told that you are stupid if you don't believe that there could be aliens. You know what I think's stupid? Alkebuer warp theory, and any theory that involves breaking the laws of the universe and essentially turning water into wine to change the fabric of space and enter these hypothetical means of travel. I have shown you that evolution is a joke. How then did aliens come to be? If there are aliens, they would be subject to the exact same rule set we are, and they would be made by the same intelligent designer who designed us. You will be told that people thought flight was impossible before the airplane. This is the dumbest argument I have ever heard. Why? An airplane does not break the laws of the universe to operate. Anyone who could break the laws of the universe is a god, and they have no need of a spaceship to get here. I go into this in more detail in my Do Aliens Exist video. The Bible provided us with all the warnings, a perfect example of how to live, and the knowledge that they attempt to rape from you when you are a child. Children are browbeaten with the idea that they are not special, that they are not made in the image of God, and that they are not loved by their Creator. Is it any surprise that depression and incivility runs rampant in our world? What stops you from seeing the truth? Pride and rationalization. The idea that you are more than what you are, or that you are too smart to have been deceived. I am not ashamed to admit that I was deceived. I looked for every reason not to believe in the Bible. The problem? The further and further I looked into things and looked into Greek and Roman historians, the truth became self-evident. The Bible is true. Its warnings were valid, and these events are coming to fruition. We have all been slowly and subtly brainwashed to reject the Bible from infancy. You can always turn to God at any time. He asks that you love him back for all the things he has given you, and that you reject the one who has brought you all the pain and all the lies. What prevents you from forming a personal relationship with God? That is something you have to answer for yourself. Try reading what Jesus said and forming your own opinion on what he taught before you belittle those who have found that they are not a mathematical mistake and that their life is not without meaning. Hold up Jesus' words and teachings up to criticism. Good luck with that. In the end, if everything he predicted is coming true, then why would you be foolish enough not to read and accept his teachings? Professors and PhDs around the world are challenging everything about what we are presented with as fact, even though they may lose everything.